Okay, welcome guys to another Hubsan X4 Pro video. This is the post unboxing video, pre-first flight video. Gonna take you through a setup, show you everything you need to know about, connecting everything to get ready for your first flight. So the first thing we want to do is to get this battery on charge. So they sent outside the box a little adapter. Just going to connect that into there, to that. Then this is the balance charger. Oh, that's the bit we need. Is the transformer. So we've got that plugged in. So this is going to output 12 volts at I think 60 watts. Plug that in there, and then we're kind of at a state ready to get this plugged in. Before we do, what we need to use is these cables, which I was very confused about when I first got this. That presumably is for some kind of other charger, some other kind of connector there. The terminals seem really small, so I'm not really sure that could take a particularly large load. Like, they're suitable for a big load, but that end definitely isn't. But we don't need that for now, at least. So I'm going to connect this in here. Now, I've actually got a real safety concern with these, right? If there's a chance that these two touch, we could basically do a lot of damage to this battery. So I'm not too convinced on this design. What I can do to eliminate that kind of problem, that risk at least, is to plug it in from the start. Now bear in mind, this isn't plugged in yet. So those two terminals now can't possibly touch each other. These terminals otherwise are perfectly safe. You can't plug them in the wrong way around, it doesn't work. So we're just going to plug that in there. This actually, it goes together really quickly. It takes an awful lot of effort to get it back out again. It's just part of the design, I suppose, but anyway. And then this end, so over here we've got, this says micro, like I presume micro USB or something. I know it's not micro. But anyway, this is the two terminals that we're interested in. If you've got a 2S or a 3S battery, we've got a 3S, and obviously I couldn't plug that in anywhere else except for the correct place. So I'm just going to plug that in there. And this connector allows this to measure the the voltage between each of the separate cells. That's the overall sort of charging, that's the sort of balance charging. So now that we've got that plugged in, we can actually power this guy up and see what happens. So green flashes means that it's ready to charge. And I think we're straight into orange. So red basically means that it's charging in constant current mode. Orange, which is what we've got now, is constant voltage mode. When it reaches the end of this cycle, it'll turn green, which could happen any minute because it is, it's a fully charged battery. So we'll leave that going, and hopefully we'll see it turn green at some point in the next, 5 minutes. There we go. One fully charged battery. You just couldn't make this up. The timing is superb. One fully charged battery, and there we are. Now, I have read in the instructions, this is the first lovely leaflet that you get when you open up the box, and it is about the balance charger. And there's a few things I wanted to sort of point out. Most of it's regular mundane stuff. For anybody who knows anything about lipos, you sort of treat them with respect. That basically means that you store them at 50% charge, which I think relates to 3.7 volts per cell. So you can do the maths and add that up for a three cell. Not to sort of charge them, discharge them below 3 volts, and not to overcharge them above, I presume, 4.2. This obviously deals with the top end voltage. The low end voltage we will do through the receiver, so basically calling it back before it becomes too discharged. But it talks you through all the flashing lights. So if there's a whole bunch of sort of safety things on here. If the input voltage is too low, it does a set number of beeps. If it's too high, if there's too much current, so it charges at 4 amps. If there's more than 4.5, then you might have a short circuit, and again it complains. All of that kind of stuff's in here. I mean, most people don't need to read this. It is fairly mundane stuff. Interesting enough, if you do disconnect the balance charger lead halfway through, which again is going to take a bit of pricing out, so bear with me, then it will complain, or it should do. But maybe it thinks it's full. Anyway, let's try that one. No, it's happy. It's just ready for a new battery. It says it's full, and that's it, job done. I really don't like this. That's not cool. So let's just keep that to one side while I unplug this. Okay, so 3 hours later I finally get this this guy unplugged. So that's ready to go into our drone. So let's take a look at this guy. So this battery took a lot of effort to actually get out, and I realised in the end that basically the amount of space that is allowed is really tight, and this cable just about gets in the way. It's also worth remembering when we put this in to put it in so that these cables are on the right hand side and that this comes out sort of round to the left hand side. So I'm just going to slot that in there. I'm not going to plug it in yet because I'm going to wait until I'm outside to do that for the first flight, but at least it's in there and it's ready to go. Everything else is what I'm now about to do. So we're going to get everything else done. So on here, it's got an A and a B and a B and an A. So we know which propellers to put where. And on these propellers, again, it's really hard to see unless you catch the light just about right, so you probably won't get that. But this says B, and it's got an anti-clockwise direction. So presumably that's going to spin anti-clockwise. Those two will spin clockwise. So I'm just going to put these on. So these are meant to be self-tightening. The first one, and then I'll give these a tighten with the spanner in just a moment. Okay, so we've got some blades on. I'm going to spin this guy upside down. We'll have a look at the gimbal. So this is the one for your mobile phone. I'm not going to use this guy, but just so you see it's there. If at some stage I come to putting a 3-axis gimbal on, then I'll do that and I'll post a video about taking this guy apart and getting everything put together again, but with a 3-axis on there. Put that to one side for now. Okay, so here's the camera with the gimbal. So the way this works, it's got 2 little slots there and there, which slide in to this little gap in there, and then it's got a little locking mechanism, which is that bit. So to slide this in, bingo! Nice clicking sound to let you know that it's engaged and it's in position. Yeah, so there's the release mechanism. And then in terms of connecting this, so it's obviously this has been disconnected for charging, so I'll just plug that back in there. And then this end plugs in. So if you can see those wires there, we've got the first input, which is obviously where this goes, and then the controller cable plugs into number 4, which is on the far left hand side. This definitely isn't as fiddly as it looks. There's easily enough access here. It's only because it's sort of my first time and I'm on video. Okay, so there's going to be a correct way around for this, isn't there? So the orange is going to be our data. So from bottom to top, we've got negative, positive, and then what looks like a kind of like a square wave. So that's obviously the data connection. So in terms of this, we've got a red wire, a brown wire, a red wire, and an orange wire. Now orange is classically the one for data, so that's going to go at the top, and brown, I'm happy that that is negative. So we'll just slip that in there. There we are. So this is more or less ready to go. I am going to install the prop guards, just for fun, just so for completeness. We've done everything then on the video that needs that you could possibly do to this. So in here we have one little Allen key and 8 little screws. Just trying to gauge where this goes and how. So that's going to fit on there like so. I believe this might just clip on. Let's pop this down. Let's have a quick look at these. So I think we've got 2 that are going to be sort of left-handed, right-handed, if you like, or clockwise and anti-clockwise, depending on how you want to look at it. So let's just work out which. So this guy here pointing to the left, that guy there again. If you look at that edge, pointing to the left, pointing to the right, and pointing to the right. So we've got to pair these up correctly. And as you can see, these both curve in slightly different directions. So we just got to get that curve right. So I would guess that that one goes on there. There are 2 screws. I wonder whether we take this off first, replace it with that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to refer to the manual. Page 1. The propeller set is probably what I'm after. Just going to page through in case I see something that looks like propeller guards. Here we are. Propeller guards are just fastened up like that. So it says connect A to A, connect B to B, obviously. To remove the propeller, hold the motor with the propeller removal wrench. So that basically stops the stops the motor spinning, so you can then rotate the blade and separate the two. Propeller guards are optional, but we recommend that beginners use them to facilitate safe flying. Method: fasten the screws to install the propeller guard as the below picture shows, right? So I'm just not convinced that that fits in there, like it's... And that's literally all it says, right? That's all it says. Just use the screws and fasten it. Okay. tells me that this bit's going to come off, but because these screws don't have a thread to go into, so presumably these are actually spares. I'm going to put those to one side. I bet I don't end up using those. Taking this guy apart, and I've only just bought it. There's something just feels wrong about this, but anyway, maybe it's just the instructions being a bit thin, which is quite surprising actually, because they write so much garbage about, you know, don't do this, don't fly into trees, don't fly over people. Come on. Ah, this now makes sense. So, well, possibly, these are much shorter screws to fit in there, so I'll actually leave that width there, just in case that is the thing. And so we potentially need longer screws for these guys. Let's just have a look. Oh, while we're there, let's disconnect that. We are finished with the charger for the time being. This is kind of worrying, isn't it? You unplug something, this is why they tell you to wait 10 seconds, right? Unplug something, wait 10 seconds, then turn it back on again. Because it sits there, it's got power. Like, that was more than 10 seconds. Probably wasn't, but you know what I mean. Right, so here's two of these. Okay, so I decided that this was probably the way around that I wanted it to go. Oh yeah, that fits like a glove. Or does it? Well, is that really right? So, no, that definitely connects. That definitely goes like that. So I basically didn't need to take that bit off, but I did need to take the screws out. So let's take this back off. Rightio. So it just takes a little bit of persuasion to get that guy on. Two screws in, and off we go. Okay, so that is all of the prop guards installed. So I'm going to give this guy a flip. There we have it. We are ready to go. Okay guys, thanks very much for watching all of that. It's had some ups and downs, a few bits, working stuff out for the first time, but it's been fun. If you've watched this and you're thinking of getting one, or if you've bought one already and you're waiting for it to get delivered, I've put together a little shopping list of items that you should get in the meantime while you're waiting. So the first thing to get is 8 AA batteries for this guy, otherwise we won't be going anywhere. I'm just going to go for the standard sort of non-rechargeable, like Duracell batteries. Other batteries are available. And I'll just see how I get on with those. Rechargeables might be an option if I'm getting through a lot, but hopefully they'll last okay. Something else to get is an SD card for this guy. Of course, when it turns up, you're not going to have one. So it'll probably still be able to transmit footage to you if you want to watch like FPV or, like on the controller. Sorry, when I say FPV, I mean like goggles. That's proper FPV. But yes, you want to get an SD card. Sorry, micro SD card. Just to clarify, the instructions recommend a minimum of, what do they call it, like grade 6? That's not the word, is it? But anyway, you know what I mean. Like a level 6 speed. I would just go straight to the top. So they do an ultra high speed. I think levels 1, 2 and 3. Any of those will be fine. I've actually got a dash cam in my car, and the SD card that's in there isn't quite fast enough. It technically is fast, like it's above the manufacturer's recommended sort of minimum. But every so often it kind of glitches out where it's trying to write too much information to the SD card, more than the SD card can sort of actually write itself. And so you end up with little glitches where it just like nothing records for a few seconds, and then it catches up with itself and sort of restarts. So yeah, definitely recommend a high speed micro SD card. And then obviously, if like me, you're looking to upgrade, which I will do, a 3-axis gimbal is definitely on the cards. One that sort of stabilizes itself, as the copter sort of turns left and right and leans forward and backwards. I think I'm going to use this quite a lot for filming, and obviously a lot for FPV, and for FPV this is fine. The fact that it can sort of drive itself up and down is sufficient for now, but I'm definitely going to upgrade at some point. So they're the key 3 items. Obviously the first 2 you have to get in order to kind of, get things up and running. So that's where I'm off to next, the shops. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. My name's Frank, in, where am I? Manchester, UK. And thanks for watching.